Hi, I'm John,
And I'm Jay.
and we're bucket list travellers.
We're going to give you a walking tour of Granada, Nicaragua.
We're starting at the western end of Calle Real Xalteva, finishing at Parque Central de Granada. As we take you on our walking tour today, we'll share a little bit about our experiences in living in Nicaragua. And when we get to our landmarks, we'll stop and give you a little bit of history about them too.
We'll be uploading a new video every week, so to see more of Nicaragua, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
Our first stop is Fortaleza la Polvora. This medieval Spanish-style fortress was built in 1748 and was originally called the Fortaleza de Armas. This fortress was built to store and protect gunpowder. It was later used to house troops and was subsequently used as a prison. The walls and towers of the fortress are still intact, and there are even some old barrels and a cannon remaining on site. There is a small museum inside, and from this museum there are panoramic views of Granada, including Mombacho volcano and the Great Lake of Nicaragua. Just so happens that today is the day that Hurricane Iota is going to hit Nicaragua. You wouldn't really notice it other than it being a little bit overcast, but otherwise it's a really nice day so far. And now we're off, walking down Real Xalteva.
Calle Real Xalteva.
Xalteva.
And it's actually spelt like Zalteva, but because of Spanish,
Xalteva.
things are pronounced a bit differently.
Yeah, we're getting used to that. And we're getting a lot of practice with rolling our R's as well. How are you going with that, Jay?
It's a bit of hit and miss. So this is actually one of the major streets in Granada, and it's one of the first streets that we were introduced to when we entered the city back in March 2020.
Yeah.
So when we came to Granada, we didn't realise that it would be for more than a week.
Here are these kids. No, don't touch my GoPro. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, we were a bit nervous about taking the GoPro out and just having it on our heads. We look a bit funny, I'm sure, to the locals, but...
What are these gringos doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got this church here. This is Chapel Maria Auxiliadora, which is a Catholic church. It's not one of the most famous churches in Granada, but it's one of the most beautiful. It's currently painted white with a blue trim, but like many churches in Latin America, it gets a colour refresh when it gets repainted, and its external colours have changed over the years. Okay, and now we're walking along. Our next stop will be the immigration office, which they know us pretty well by now because we have to go back every kind of 2 weeks to either pick up our visa from the last go or put it in for the next lot of visa extensions.
Google probably thinks that we work at the immigration office based on how many times we're there a month.
But the people at the immigration office are really nice, really helpful.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, and our Spanish is slowly improving, which is helpful. They don't speak English. The visa prices went up.
By about a factor of 3. So I think they're now US $25 each. Yeah.
Was it a factor of 3 or a factor of 2?
Maybe a factor of 2.
Yeah.
I don't know, a lot.
It was a lot, but I guess there's less people renewing their visas at the moment. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Captive market.
Yeah, it's a captive market at the moment, that's for sure. Yeah.
But it's a lovely place to live, and...
Oh.
Yeah.
And here we are at the immigration office. Time for the serious chat. The Immigration Office of Granada has been a regular feature of our life in Nicaragua, as we've had to renew our visa every 30 days after the expiry of our initial 90-day visa. The office is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. till noon on Saturdays. Visa renewals are sent to the head office at Managua. Okay, we're on the road again. So just ahead of us, we've got what I think is a major intersection of Granada. It's certainly the busiest crossing that we have to do when we go to the immigration office, that's for sure. So what's this intersection called, or what's this other street?
I think it's called Highway 4. That's what it has on Google Maps at any rate.
Okay, cool. And this is where the running of the bulls was, which was just a crazy, out of this world sort of event. Let's take you to it now. So yeah, you just have hundreds and we got thousands of people just in the streets, and the bulls just get let loose. It was just crazy. And yeah, really interesting experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't realise that there was a running of the bulls outside of Spain before we came here. So yeah, that was very different.
A little bit freaked with the pandemic and so many people being around. We social distanced as best we could, and yeah, I guess
I was up a tree for half of it, trying to not get hit by any bulls on the way, although I only saw one fleetingly.
Just here, there were fences, but they're only, you could hide behind the fence, but theoretically a bull could just walk behind the fence.
That main street is where we came down to where the bus let us off.
Yeah.
At the bus. Yeah, so there's a bus terminal along that street, and when it got to the intersection of Calle Real Xalteva, we thought that was where we needed to get off, which it wasn't. So we ended up walking all the way down this street with all of our bags, which we travel carry-on, so it's not that much, but
yeah, in 34-degree heat,
it's hot.
With not too much shade. It was pretty tough. Okay, here we are at Iglesia Xalteva.
Iglesia Xalteva is another Catholic church. The church was named after the indigenous neighbourhood that formerly occupied this area. The church was built during colonial times, and it was used as a military fortress due to its convenient location. This church has been rebuilt numerous times over the years. The facade and the interior were rebuilt after its destruction during the National War in the mid-1850s. In 1890, the church was badly hit by an earthquake and rebuilt again between 1895 and 1898, and the last reconstruction was completed in 1921.
So the footage that you're seeing here was from Hipica, which is another big festival of Granada.
And that's a horse riding festival. It's just a big festival with everyone just gets dressed up in their best, and you've got dancers and entertainers, so many people on horses. It's quite a sight to see.
Yeah, really cool. And we're off again. We've read that there are 100,000 people in Granada, but you wouldn't be able to tell. So as you can see here, it's just the streets are quite empty, or it's not too densely populated. On the left here you have Xalteva Parque. This is a nice little park. You can sit down, have a rest, get a little bit of shade. And on the other side you've got another park.
I think it's actually the same park, and it's just been split in two by the road.
Okay. If you look closely, you can see candy cane lights. So it's getting close to Christmas. It'll be really nice to see what this looks like at night.
Yeah, so we're starting to see the Christmas decorations come out. There's a few stores that have Christmas supplies that seem to be popping up around the place. It's not as full on with Christmas stuff as you find in London or in Australia where we're from, but
I'll give it time.
Yeah, give it time.
Yeah, I noticed in the supermarkets, Christmas stuff and chocolates have come out since mid-November, And that's pretty similar with Australia.
Oh no, it starts way earlier in Australia.
Really?
now.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
They have Christmas songs on the loudspeaker in the shops?
Not yet.
No.
Not that I've noticed.
So not full on
No.
Christmas feel.
All the houses are painted really colourfully. You've got greens and blues and pinks and oranges. Yeah, it's very colourful. Love it.
And what we've noticed in living here is that they do give the paint a refresh pretty regularly, which is really nice to see. So you can really tell the difference when it's been freshly repainted, and they do the paving outside in some cases on a regular basis, and that looks quite nice as well. And I guess because it's quite hot here, quite sunny, the paint must fade pretty quickly, do you think?
Yeah.
So it's nice that they put a lot of pride into the look and feel of the city.
Yeah.
Although in saying that, they've also got horses and carts that go around the city, and so you do need to sidestep the mess that's made every once in a while. But they keep it reasonably clean.
Yeah, it is reasonably clean. Yeah. Like the streets don't reek of horse poo.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And they use horse and cart a fair bit, not just for tourist sightseeing, as we'll talk about a little bit later, but you'd see horse and carts with carts full of bananas, carts full of
Water bottles,
green waste. They're used quite prolifically.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Like you've got motorcycles, and then you've got cars and trucks, and then horses. Mm-hmm. So it runs the full gamut of transport options here. And you'll notice what are they called? Bunting across
Those
the
flag
street,
things.
the flag things. Yeah, quite colourful. We noticed that they came out around the time of the Hipica festival.
We think.
But given that we're not out and about that much, maybe it is around more often. So
Because prior to that, between March and September, we probably didn't walk down Real Xalteva.
yeah, well, only to go to the immigration office a couple of times.
But we wouldn't have walked down this part of the street.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're a local and you're watching this video, then let us know how often the bunting's out. But it's a nice addition to the street. It makes it quite festive.
Yeah. Yeah, Granada just seems festive all the time. So on weekends, you'd always get the marching bands, going round, playing their trumpets. I think a couple of weekends ago we had the band playing at 2:00 in the morning for someone's birthday. Oh,
was that a birthday?
I think it was a birthday. It was
yeah,
crazy.
guy singing along on the loudspeaker.
Just had karaoke too.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And it seems like every weekend there's a party or something going on outside.
Yeah.
What I really like is how at night everyone just takes their little rocking chairs out to the outside of their house on the street and just gathers for a chat and to just watch the world go by. It's quite a nice atmosphere.
Yeah, it's very different to what you'd get in Australia. People wouldn't sit outside every night in Australia.
Yeah, so you really get to know your neighbours, which is nice. So we always wave at our neighbours when we go by. They're usually out and about. Iglesia la Merced is a Baroque-style Catholic church and was built in 1534. You can walk up the bell tower for some amazing views, especially for sunset. The church was originally completed in 1539 and has an eventful history. It was destroyed by pirates in 1655 and rebuilt with its current Baroque facade between 1781 and 1783. It was damaged again in the National War of the 1850s and was restored with a current elaborate interior in 1862.
Okay, that was our last church before we get to the Central Park.
There's just so many churches around Granada, and they're all quite beautiful and quite elaborately adorned. Yeah, and with quite a lot of history as well. Even though they've been rebuilt many times over the years, you still get that sense of history in the place, which is really nice. Most churches are Catholic because, in Nicaragua and in Central America, Catholicism is the big religion over here. But there are some other religions around as well.
Yeah, there's Mormonism, and then there's the evangelical branch. I don't know what you call it exactly. Yeah, we've got friends who are both. My evangelical friend talks a fair bit about Hillsong, which is a big evangelical movement back in Australia.
It actually started not too far from where we live in Australia, in Sydney.
Yeah, I didn't realise how big the global reach was. Crazy. Yeah. So as you're getting closer to town, you'll get more and more vendors of various things. So we just walked past a shoe shop, and we're coming up to a street shortly, which is basically a whole street of markets, which is pretty cool.
Markets and street vendors.
Yeah. So you can get anything. So you can get your electronics, you can get your food, fresh fruit and veggies.
Hot dogs.
Lots of hot dogs. You can get lots of hot dog vendors. So this is quite a busy street as well, but it's one way, and then it just turns into basically a pedestrian street a little bit that way.
Yeah, it's got a really nice atmosphere, but in the middle of a global pandemic, when you're trying to social distance, it's a little bit nerve-wracking to walk down.
Yeah.
So we've tried to avoid that street a bit, but recently we had to go to Radio Shack, which is on that street, to get a new hard drive. But it's good that they've got international stores like Radio Shack here. So you can usually find most things that you want. I think some expats do bring stuff in their suitcases back from like the US and stuff for the little bits cheaper. And pieces, but it's not too bad. You can get most things.
Yep, you can even get Nintendo Switches.
Yeah.
But they're a bit more expensive. They're something like $750 US, which is a fair bit higher than what you'd get in the US or Australia. Needless to say, I haven't been playing Nintendo recently. Okay, now we're at Central Park. See that guy on the left? He was a tourist vendor. If you want to do any tours around Granada, if you want to go to Laguna de Apoyo or Volcano Messiah or Mombacho, you can come to Central Park, and there'll be plenty of vendors who'll be able to hook you up, so to speak. So my tip would be to check out your hotel rate, because that you can usually get things through your hotel as well, and then use that as a benchmark, and then just walk around here and see how you go. Most of the tour guides speak English as well, so if you're concerned about that. And it's really pretty, this Central Park.
Yeah, it's a lovely park, and especially overlooking that church. And then there's also another building, which is the building, I think, that the self-proclaimed president, a former president of Nicaragua back in, what was it, like the
1800s.
1800s.
Yeah, this American guy came with his own mercenary army and declared war on Nicaragua. Crazy.
And so he ended up declaring Granada the capital for a little while, and he built himself a presidential palace. Things went a little bit south for him, and he ended up getting executed.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Not before blowing up Granada.
He definitely did a lot to make himself enemies.
Very colourful history.
We're now in the center of Granada, in Parque Central, and behind me is the beautiful Iglesia Catedral Inmaculada.
As you will find in many Spanish colonial towns, the Central Park is right in the heart of Granada. It is normally filled with vendors selling food such as the local delicacy of Vigaron, as well as clothing and other paraphernalia. On the side of the park opposite the cathedral, you will see a lineup of horse and carriages just waiting to take tourists round on a ride through the city. Whilst it might be a little quiet in the heat of the day, it comes alive at sunset and is a great place to find a bench and people watch. The pedestrian street Calle Calzada starts next to the cathedral, and it is Granada's Eat Street, filled with many restaurants and bars.
We hope you enjoyed this walking tour of Granada, Nicaragua.
We are bucket list travellers.
See you later.